Hello, Nick Jones here for the lower back stretch series. Please pause and read the disclaimer to make sure this is definitely right for you. Apart from that, if you do tend to suffer with a bit of a tight lower back, this could be the series for you. I've got a few different length videos on this series, one of just 5 minutes if you don't have much time, another of 15, and then another longer session at 30 minutes if you do have that bit of extra time. Apart from that, hope you enjoy. First up is going to be our angry cat. So we're going to go hands and knees, and what we're going to do is just pick that mid back up towards the ceiling and stretch the kind of middle of the back. After that, we're going to take it one stage further, where we're going to sink the hips back towards the ankles, and I find, so then you're almost pulling your back out at a 45-degree angle behind you and up, and I just find this hits my lower back that little bit better. If you are subject to a bit of a rounded posture, you know, kind of slightly slumped in shoulders, I would actually suggest you maybe skip this first stretch, as we're going to hit the lower back in lots of other different ways without quite going to such an exaggerated slump posture. Apart from that, if it's working, reset, go again, and just feel the stretch. Also, with all these stretches, we're aiming for a moderate discomfort, a kind of 7 to 8 out of 10. Okay, uncomfortable but bearable, so you can relax. So up to the ceiling, high as you can, and then slowly sink back towards the hips, pulling that lower back out at that 45-degree angle, trying to lengthen everything along the spine. Just stretch all of those muscles the whole way along. And again, just follow me, just repeat when you need to. Okay, so finished there. We're going to go on to our next stretch now. We're going to do our child's pose. Okay, so we're going to go feet together, knees nice and wide apart, hands and knees, but then hands up nice and high and together, and then just sink back towards the heels. What you want is your arms almost straight, and then pushing your head down through the hole almost. You should feel a nice stretch through your kind of armpit area, which is going to be good for your posture. And the better your posture in your upper back is, the better the posture of the lower back will be, the better position it will be in. And apart from that, you'll feel this kind of also, if you really relax and sort of ease into it, especially if you've got a particularly tight lower back, you'll feel this nicely in the lower back around that SI joint where the spine meets the pelvis. And then also you should feel a nice stretch through the hips. We will touch on some hip stretching today, just because if you've got a tight lower back, it's quite often because, and it's all linked, that you've also got then tight hips. So we're going to do a little bit of hip stretching today. And it's also very kind of common in, if you've got tight lower back and kind of tight hips, a bit of a mix of the two. Very common in kind of any job where you sit down for long periods of time. So we're going to address all of that today. Hope you enjoy. And again, remember, wherever you're feeling the stretch, it doesn't matter, you know, so whichever bit you feel it the most is just the tightest bit for you. You know, it might be different to someone else. I take this stretch one stage further now. Basically, I'm doing exactly the same stretch, except I'm lifting my hands up onto something elevated. And I find this just gets me a better stretch in my sort of upper back. Sort of kind of around my kind of armpit area and stuff like that. So it's now more just an upper back stretch now, if you do this added option. But this is really good for long-term posture and opening up those shoulders and getting your posture nice and taut. 10 seconds. Okay, so we're going to go for another lat stretch now. We're going to go right hand out in front of the left hand and then sink back towards your right hip. Okay, so the lats, the reason why we're doing quite a bit of a big focus on the longer stretch session on your lats is just because people tend to think they're just under the armpit, but actually they cover most of your back. They actually attach right down by your SI joint, which is right down at the base of your spine, near the top of your pelvis. They attach right at the centre, right near the spine, the whole way along the back. So again, if you get tight lats, you know, it's going to cause a lot of issues. So it's really good to stretch them off. You should feel it massively on this stretch. Right hand out in front of your left hand, and then just sink back towards the right hip. You're almost trying to create like a backward C between your right hand and your, say, left hip. So you're trying to like twist to exaggerate that stretch. If that didn't make a huge amount of sense, what I mean is right hand out in front of the left, and then almost stick your rib cage out to the right. Now we're going to swap over, left hand out in front of the right hand, and then sink back towards the left hip. You should get a nice big stretch all the way down one side. And again, try and stick your rib cage out to the left to try and exaggerate that stretch. And get as good a stretch as you can.
Seconds.
Okay, let's come out of that stretch now. Like I said, tight lower back and quite often mean tight hips. So we're going to go for a bit of a few hip stretches now. So we're going to go left knee out in front of the right knee. Swing your left foot as far round to the right hand as you can, or the right elbow. And then gradually walk your right knee back. Then you can sink all the way down to your elbows like I have done if you like, or you can even go all the way flat if you can get your chest on the floor and your arms straight up above you. If not, just stay up on your hands if that's more comfortable, if those hips are really tight. And we'll just sink into it nicely. You're trying to slowly get your left hip lower and lower down towards the floor. Okay, so come on out, we're going to switch the sides. We're going to go right knee nice and far forward, left knee nice and far back. Swing your right foot as far round towards the left hand as you can. Then just walk your left knee back so that right hip gets nice and near the floor. And then drop down onto your elbows if you can. If not, stay up on your hands and keep the upper body a bit more upright. Or, if you fancy it, you can lie all the way out flat and get that chest nice and near to the floor. Again, it's going to be stretching everything around the hips. It's a really good, nice, relaxing stretch to sit into this one. And again, I've found, in my experience, holding fewer stretches but for longer certainly helped me. So apart from that, just sink into it. As the time goes on, try and get deeper and deeper into that stretch. You're aiming for about 7 to 8 out of 10 in terms of discomfort. You want it to be uncomfortable but bearable, moderate discomfort. Apart from that, finish there. Come on out, we're going to cross the legs now. And then you're just going to walk your hands out nice and far. So cross your legs, try and get those knees as low to the floor as you can. The higher those knees are, it means the tighter you are through those hips. Then also walking the hands out like this and then trying to get the elbows down towards the floor. You should feel a nice stretch around the SI joint, so you'll be stretching the hips, you'll be stretching everything that attaches to that SI joint where the spine meets the pelvis, so into your lower back a little bit as well. And so it's kind of like this one, including this stretch on the lower back routine is because it does lower back and hips all at the same time. You might find you might not be able to even get your hands on the floor, so in that case you might need to hang on to something to kind of, and then just lean forward with your body. Or if you can go out further than me, that's great too.
Halfway there.
Just as that time goes on, just try and sink deeper and deeper into the stretch. We're holding this one for 2 minutes because it is crossing into that lower back. So just slowly go further and further out. Try and get those knees lower and lower. Then we move on.
Seconds.
Okay, so we're going to finish up there. We're going to stretch now into the posterior chain, which is all the muscles on the back of the body, okay? So we're going to go in that same sort of position, but one leg out straight.
Let's go.
Kind of like a 45-degree angle away from you. Make sure you get your knee on the floor and then just reach down towards your toes. The reason why I like to include stretching this is there's a lot of different posture types out there. And a lot of them, if you've got tight kind of hamstrings and that tight posterior chain, it can lead to a tight lower back. And especially for me, as soon as I was able to start touching my toes, it actually switched all my back pain off for me. I'm still going to try and progress it even further. Hopefully get to the point where I can get my chest down on my thigh, but I'm not there yet. If you can't reach your toe, that's absolutely fine. Just hang on to your shin and just lean down. Then slowly over time, just try and get closer and closer to that toe. As the time goes on, just relax more and more. Make sure that knee stays on, the back of the knee stays on the floor though, okay? It's no good touching your toes if your knees are 10 centimeters up in the air. So just hold on and sink into it.
Halfway there.
Okay, let's switch the sides. So now the other leg goes out at a 45-degree angle. Other leg comes back in to where it was, and then just reach down towards that toe. Again, make sure the back of the knee is on the floor, on your straight leg. And then just reach as far down the leg as you can. If you can get your chest right down on your thigh, great. If you can't get to the toe, that's fine too. And then just slowly work on it in time. And yeah, just as soon as I was able to start touching my toes, all my real lower back pain has now gone away. So yeah, so that's something to aim for. If you can't touch your toes and you get lower back pain.
Seconds.
Okay, so along the lines of, again, tight hips quite often means a tight lower back. We're going to go into the inside of the leg. Okay, so you're just going to sit in this kind of position, this kind of butterfly position up on your bum, soles of your feet together, hold on to them, and then try and sink your knees down away from each other. Again, if you're looking at my right knee and it looks a lot higher than my left knee, it's because I'm experiencing a few issues with my right hip at the moment, and it's because over the years I've sort of upped my mobility on my hamstrings, my quads and my glutes, but I've neglected stretching the inside of the leg, and it's caused a bit of lateral instability at my hip. Then when I was playing at the visually impaired national championship tennis, 12 hours of tennis over 3 days was a bit too much for that hip. So currently kind of going through some rehab stuff at the moment. But apart from that, this is why I've got to work on this stretch. But again, it's really good for opening up the hips, getting that hip mobility back. As soon as you can get your hips nice and mobile, the lower back can switch off too. So we're just going to go for a second stretch along those lines. You're going to do the same thing, feet together, knees apart, so you're going to lie down on your back. Just to get a bit of a better stretch, I usually put the back of the wrist to the outside of the bum, and my arms nice and straight to support my back all the way along, and just slowly let my legs sink lower and lower. So if you originally clicked on this series, because you've got lower back discomfort, and you're finding as you're going through these stretches your hips are really tight, really stiff, feel free to check out the hip stretch series where we do a bit more focus on just the hips alone. Maybe alternate each night of which ones you do, and when you come home from work. Lots of different length videos on there as well, anywhere from 10 minutes to 45 minutes. And
10
and
seconds.
hopefully between the two of them we can switch everything off. Okay, so next stretch is going to be a bit of a complicated one to explain, so come on up and watch me do it. So sit on your bum, cross your right ankle over your left knee, and then just hug that knee in as hard as you can, or you can go for a further option where we can incorporate the lower back stretch into it as well, where you just wrap your left arm around that knee, hug it in nice and close, and then just look over your right shoulder. So as long as you're it should be the same leg bent and crossed over as you're looking over the same shoulder. So my right leg is bent and over the other leg, and I'm looking over my right shoulder. Just look back, twist, look over the shoulder, look as far behind you as you can, get a nice twist through the torso, and you should get a nice stretch on the top of the glute doing this stretch. At the top, as in the top of the glute, to then where the lower back starts, in that kind of area. It's not that easy to hold this one for a long time, so I think I do break this one up a little bit. So if you need pauses at any point, just go back to the knee hug, that's absolutely fine. And just go back into this back stretch as soon as you then can.
Halfway there.
Okay, now we're going to swap sides, so we're going to go left foot over the right knee. Hug that knee in nice and close as an option, just leave it at that. Or hug that knee in and then look over the left shoulder. So just to go over that again, left foot is bent and over the right knee. And then you're just hugging that knee in as close as you can to the chest, and then looking over your left shoulder.
10 seconds. Rest.
Okay, so next up, our final few back stretches. We're going to go onto our back now for them. And all you're going to do is just hug your knees in nice and close to your chest, and then just roll in little circles. I kind of do 30 seconds one way, 30 seconds the other. And and this is a nice one. If you get the right kind of floor underneath you, it's quite nice. It can almost like massage your back a little bit. It's a really good one for actually getting your back moving first thing in the morning. If your kind of back's really stiff first thing in the morning, it's quite an easy one to hit, and you can just kind of roll around, warm up the back before you get moving.
Halfway there. Seconds.
Okay, so the next stretch approaching is going to be similar to this one, except we're just going to do one knee to the chest, the other leg out nice and straight on the floor. It's actually one I used to use as a bit of a tester to see how bad whichever client I was working with, how bad their back really was. Like, if you can feel it during this stretch, you know, your back is then super tight. Okay, and this will be really nice for it. If you can't feel it at all on this one, feel free to skip to the next one, as it is the best overall lower back stretcher in terms of all of the clients I've ever seen before. But if you can feel it, stick with it, and then go on to the final one in time.
Halfway there.
Okay, so we're just going to switch the side, same stretch, but just on the other side. Again, just remember it, I used to use this as a tester just to see how tight people's backs really were. But again, just because it doesn't hurt on this stretch doesn't mean that this series isn't for you. Like, you'll find you'll get some real benefit out of these other stretches, particularly the last one that's coming up. It's out of all of my clients who've ever experienced any kind of outside of the hip to back to lower back pain or lower back, it's always been the one I could be 95% sure it would help all of those clients. So yeah, so just stick around and we'll see you on the final stretch.
Seconds.
So what you're going to do is you're just going to hug that knee up and then just pull it over
Let's go.
until that knee is on or near the floor. Then you're just going to relax the opposite shoulder back. This is the best lower back stretcher I've come across. As an option, you can do sort of both legs together like that, or if not, just stick with the one leg over like I'm doing there. Okay, so this has been the best lower back stretcher I've ever come across in terms of helping all of my clients. One, because it's really easy to hold, you can just sit there and really relax into it and take it kind of deeper and deeper. But it hits a really good part of the back where we sort of stretch the outside of the hip into the top of the glute and then into the lower back. We're kind of more doing the QLs with this move, like the kind of twisting muscles in your spine. And yeah, it's a really good one. Just as so, we're going to hold it for a good 2 minutes, and just as the time goes on, just try and sink deeper and deeper into it.
Halfway there.
But yes, if you are enjoying this stretch series and some of the other ab moves or the nutritional stuff, I'd be hugely appreciated if you could subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and you only get the notifications if you hit the little bell button next to the subscribe button. It just really helps support the channel. And again, like I originally set this up just to give a bit of an extra service to my clients. But you know, if I could get towards that kind of 1,000 subscribers mark, it would be awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do, because it's quite a deep stretch, we want to stay facing the same direction the knees were pointing, and then just go into a bit of a quad stretch like I'm doing like this, just heel to bum, staying on that same side, just because we don't want to really roll out of this stretch too much, as it's quite a deep stretch. And we're just going to stretch the front of the legs again. Stretching out the front of the legs, you know, again, if you've got your tight back from kind of, you know, maybe, you know, job that sits, or you do a lot of driving and stuff like that, the likelihood is you're going to have very tight hip flexors and kind of front of the quads. So it's a good one to stretch out as well. Like the looser your quads are, the looser your lower back will be. Just because of kind of the laws of opposites, you know, around the pelvis. You know, if you've got a tight lower back, it's going to kind of push you into a bit of an anterior pelvic tilt where your kind of pelvis tilts forward, and that will shorten and tighten up your quads in. So kind of the two are very well linked. So again, good stretch to the front of the quads will be really worth it too. We're just going to do the other side, the lower back stretch and then the quad stretch, and then we'll be done.
Halfway there.
So over to the other side, so bring one knee up to the chest, then just pull it across over to the side till that knee is on the floor or near the floor, and then relax your opposite shoulder back. And again, just really sink into this stretch now, so you can kind of complete the stretch where you can get that shoulder on the floor and that knee very near the floor. And then you have achieved a nice loose back. And again, just as this time goes on, just get deeper and deeper into that stretch, really relax. And help loosen off that
10
lower back.
seconds. Rest. Let's go.
Okay, so remember, we don't want to roll out of the stretch. Whichever way your knee is pointing, stay facing that direction, roll onto that side completely, then just grab your heel to bum and push that hip nice and far forward. You almost want to look down at your knee and you want to try and get that hip in line with your knee. You don't want your knee too far in front of your hip. You want to try and slowly be able to get that heel right up to the bum and that hip in line with the knee. The looser those quads and hip flexors, the looser your lower back will be. And we don't have to roll out of that very deep stretch. Apart from that, stick around to the end, just really sink into the stretch, and we'll call it a day there. Okay, so thanks for sticking around to the end. That's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, there's lots more on the channel like it. Also with the hips, there's ab stuff, there's nutrition stuff. Hopefully see you in one of those. Like, subscribe, support the channel. That would be amazing. See you in the next video.